Oh, there you are, YouTube. I just watched a Netflix movie. A lot of times with Netflix movies, I don't know, I just don't think they're as good as movies that go to the theater, but this is one that I think I liked quite a bit. And I shouldn't say that about every Netflix movie because sometimes like Netflix will just buy a movie, that wasn't necessarily like made by Netflix. But anyway, this is, I believe, made by Netflix, and I think it is very good. It is Always Be My Maybe, starring Ali Wong and Randall Park. Both of them wrote this movie. Also has James Saito in it, who I learned as I was watching it. My wife was checking IMDb. He is Shredder in Ninja Turtles, the 1990 version, the one I grew up watching when I was little. So that was fantastic to learn, and he is a completely different character than the Shredder we know him as from our childhood, right? So that was just really cool to see him in a role that is completely different than what I grew up with him, in. So that was just very cool. Also, why did we watch this movie? Because it is a part of our Keanu Reeves Marathon. Also, I've seen, well, let's get back to Keanu Reeves. So, should I? I don't know. It's like okay, so the movie is sort of this love story between these two people that had crushes on one another when they were little kids, but both of them were too scared to tell one another, and they went all the way to like age 18 having crushes, but just, staying in that friend zone with one another the entire time. Then they get in this big fight, and then they don't see each other for like 16 years, but then they reconnect, and they have very different lives than each other. And they sort of have to, or they don't have to, but they, the movie goes and they find common ground, I guess, in their life, but they're not fully committed to each other. It's still like, okay, let's just, let's be friends. And then it ends up, they end up together, just like every romantic comedy. Not every romantic comedy you ever see Annie Hall. But what was interesting is Ali Wong's character, when she's still seeing other people before they finally get together, she meets Keanu Reeves, and they start seeing each other. I think it's almost like a one night stand that turns into a second date, but really doesn't go into anything beyond that. But what I liked about this was Keanu Reeves, was sort of known as the nicest guy in Hollywood, like in a different way than Tom Hanks is, because Tom Hanks is sort of turned into like everybody's father or grandfather. But Keanu Reeves is just sort of like the nicest, kindest guy sort of thing attached to him. And in this movie, they make him a total jerk and a very egotistical person, full of himself, full of, some wise information at the same time. But yeah, just kind of like a very harsh person, which with a lot of energy, and it was just kind of fun to see him that way. And I feel like if he's going to play himself, an exaggerated version of himself, this is the way to go, to sort of flip him into the opposite of how the world sort of knows him, by making him like an egomaniac. I thought that was a lot of fun and just very cool to do. And we heard he was in this movie, but I thought it was more just like a cameo. But I mean, I guess it is a cameo, but he's really in it. I mean, he's almost a supporting character. He's not in the entire film, like throughout as a supporting character, but he has some chunk of screen time that I would say this is more than a cameo. He is playing himself, but I thought it was just going to be something very quick, maybe 3 minutes long, but we get a lot of Keanu, enough to where I was very happy that I watched the entire film. I was very happy I watched the entire film regardless of him, because it was a fantastic movie. I don't know, like Netflix movies, I'm always just kind of like, take them or leave them. But this one, I am so glad we took it and we watched it, because it was great. We like it, when it ended, we were like, that was so good. That was like high quality stuff. But maybe there is a lot of high quality Netflix stuff that we just don't know about because we're only watching like those terrible Christmas movies. So we just sort of figured that's what everything is like on Netflix. Just those, you know, they just sort of have like a Hallmark quality to them. Not being, you know, overly saccharine, but just like they don't feel cinematic at all. Whatever texture they have, whatever cameras they are using, whatever filters they're using, just does not provide a cinematic quality. So I don't know, like, but is the Irishman, was that like, did Netflix make that, or did they just like buy it from Scorsese and like, hey, we'll distribute this? Same thing with like Roma, because I don't think that's a Netflix movie. I think it's like a movie, and then Netflix is like, we will take that. So I think this was a Netflix movie, like produced by, made by, distributed by Netflix. I think I could be wrong. I could be wrong on that. But if it is, let's say it was made by Netflix, it is fantastic and one of the best ones that I've seen. Thought it was fantastic. I think it is because I feel like every Netflix movie I have seen, they're always referencing Netflix, and this one did that as well. But I don't know, it was really good. I've seen Ali Wong's stand-up advertised on Netflix, and I haven't watched it yet. It's been, you know, I just haven't been able to spend as much time watching stand-up shows like specials like I used to. And I don't know, I want to somehow find a way to get back into that, and watching hers, because after seeing this movie, it's like, yeah, I gotta watch that stand up now. But you know, I've been devoting most of my time to movies and a tiny bit of television, so I don't know when that's going to be, but I am excited to see it when I can. But yeah, overall, fantastic movie. Keanu Reeves is really good in it, so if you like Keanu Reeves, if you're looking for a Keanu Reeves movie and hear that this is just a cameo, while yes, I guess you could call it a cameo, and it probably technically is, it is pretty meaty. He is in it for quite a while to where you feel like you're getting your Keanu's worth. So very much worth it, in my opinion, if you are going in for just Keanu, because that's what we did and we were pleased with it, and it was just extra good because the movie was good. Not only was Keanu's stuff great, the movie was great too. I mean, it's just, you know, a romantic comedy. It's not like, I don't know, breaking the mold or anything in terms of like romantic comedy stories. But it's just, I don't know. I mean, it's exactly what you want to see in a romantic comedy. I think it gave everything that those movies promise, and it did so very, very well. So check it out. Always Be My Maybe on Netflix. I think it'll always be on Netflix because I think they produced it and made it and all of that. But it is fantastic, and perhaps I'll see you tomorrow for more Pure Hangout.